Welcome to episode 21, everyone. If you just joined, this is Maria at Maria the Arcane on Instagram, and this is Robin at A Tired Witch on Instagram. And today we are joined by Temperance Alden of Wild Woman Witchcraft on Instagram as well. Thank you for joining us.
Of course, thank you for having me.
So, as we said, we are joined by the beautiful Temperance Alden. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So, I am just, living my best life. I'm a folk witch and general magical practitioner, and author of the book Year of the Witch. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and pretty much anywhere where you could find me, I am on it. I guess I like wasting a lot of my time on the internet, but I don't know what to say at this part.
That's okay. We both know. And have you read it, Maria? Have you read her book?
No, I haven't. I have like a big to be read pile.
Bad host.
Wow.
Well, I read your book and I thought it was fantastic. For your book, Year of the Witch, what is essentially inspired you to write it?
I think a lot of my platform has always been centered around doing whatever the fuck you want. And I think that's not pushed enough in our community, to be honest. It's not, especially when a lot of people in witchcraft, I find, came to it through the lens of Wicca. And Wicca has a lot of rules. You might not feel like they are rules, but there are a lot of rules. And so when people leave Wicca and come out into the rest of the general population of what is paganism, witchcraft, spirituality, etc., they're like, can I do this? Is this okay? And so kind of my whole platform has always been do whatever the fuck you want, right? So it had been like a year probably on Instagram at this point. And I was getting messages consistently every holiday, like, what are you doing? What are you doing for this holiday? How are you celebrating it? And I was always like, I'm not. Like, it doesn't make sense for me to do that because I'm in Florida. It's not cold here, or it's not a harvest here, or any of that stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm going to write down a book and instruct people, because a lot of people I also saw were like, I want to do this, but I don't really connect with this holiday. And the one that's famous for it is Mabon. People hate that one. They're like, oh, this doesn't make sense to me. I don't connect to it. I'm not doing anything for it. Like, it's an equinox. You can't just not connect to it. Like, it's a thing. It's a celestial event. So, so for me, I was like, okay, I'm going to write a book that allows people to build their own structure and framework and make their spirituality something that is their own. And so that was like the really guiding purpose of writing the whole book.
Yeah, I wish you had written this book like 15 years ago because I know, I don't live in gross ass Florida, but I lived in San Francisco for a decade. And there's no seasons in San Francisco. It's just
because it's trash.
It is trash, but it's my trash. It's a constant state of fog and 55-degree weather. And so I wish you had written that ages ago, or anybody had written ages ago, because it would have been really good for connecting to different seasons when there aren't actual seasons happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's the approach my book took, was different. It wasn't about seasons. It was about your climate and connecting to what's local to you. And I think that was the big pivot point for a lot of people. I get messages every day on whatever platform. I never thought about it like this. I never thought to do it this way. And it's like, okay, exactly. I'm glad I could help you.
Yeah, I think too many books are structured, too structured, and people begin to get too scared to go outside their outside what the books say. And so it's really refreshing to hear that your book, encourages it.
Yeah. I think that's where we find genuine spirituality. It's doing our own thing.
Yes, 100%.
Yes,
because the books in the 90s did not offer that.
Yeah. What are you talking about? What are you trying to say? Are you trying to tell me that Gerald Gardner might have been a little too linear? That man got naked in the woods, okay? With mythological witches. You can't sit here and just tell me that his things were too linear. You heard it here, folks.
Gerald Gardner
canceled.
Canceled. Joe Gardner is the daddy of witchcraft, and that's all we need to know.
God, I fucking hate the internet. When it comes to you like first starting out as a witch and like kind of getting interested in spirituality, like what did that look like for you?
I like to say it's the trauma. And I wish I was joking, but I'm not. And so when I started out, I actually started out with a lot of what my mom was doing at the time, because she practiced folk Catholicism. And so I started off doing that as a kid. And when she died, it was something that kept me connected to her. And I just continued doing it. At the time, I was a kid and I was very angry and upset. And I was like, if God was real, this wouldn't have happened to me, blah, 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 blah. And so I left religion, organized religion, but I kept doing the things because at the time we had a big, what I would call now an altar, but we had this big table decked out in like statues and candles, and we lit incense at it every day. And we, prayed for intercession or prayed to ancestors or whatever else we were doing. And so I continued doing that stuff. But I explored a lot of spirituality and a lot of religion. And I, eventually landed in paganism a few years later. And I've kind of just been doing that ever since. So a lot of my interest was just, initially was a way to connect to people that I loved that I didn't have anymore. And then later it was a way that I connected to myself. And I think that's just always kind of been at the root of why I do what I do is to, like, what else is there? And, when I was a kid, I had my mom died when I was young. And so I had a therapist, like a bereavement therapist, what they were calling it. And she's like, you're such an existentialist. And I guess I've always just been this way. I've been interested in like, what else is there? What deeper is there? Like, I don't want to just turn on TV and I'm not satisfied with that. Like, what else can I do? And that's kind of the driving factor of all of that.
Yeah, I love that. I think
trauma's so fun, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, trauma totally aside, I think a lot of people don't realize the connection between things like organized religion and paganism. Like if you look at people that are super devout Catholics, for example, a lot of their rituals, their day-to-day rituals are very similar, if not, although yes, it's different, it is very similar to a lot of pagan paths as well. We're all doing the same thing. It just looks slightly different.
It looks different. It feels different a little bit, but there a lot of it has similar emotions. And I think that there's two reasons for that. One is that there's a common thread between all spiritualities. It's often like a different thread, but I feel like there is just like one common thread. But then a lot of modern pagans were Christian first. Like most people aren't being born into like generations old Wiccan families. It's not happening. So we're seeing people leave what they knew, but keeping the structure.
You're trying to tell me that I am not the granddaughter of the witches you tried to burn? Unreal. Unreal.
I mean, I can't assume, Robin, but I just know.
I'm just fucking with you. Oh my goodness.
No, but I love that sentiment because, everyone's trying to like connect with, air quote, the source and like their inner selves and stuff like that.
The source.
A lot of different paths, do that.
Yeah.
I think it's nice.
Yes.
If you've just joined us this week, every week we talk about the upcoming lunar phases and kind of what that means for us, what you can do with them, what you cannot do with them, kind of, it's something for you to go off of. Because we are taking off Christmas, I'm going to be talking about both the lunar phases that are happening this month, so that way you're not left without it, even though we won't be here for a week. So upcoming first is the new moon in Sagittarius, which is going to be happening on December 15th. when we've got the new moon in Sagittarius, we are basically going to be focusing on optimism and exploration of our own ideas and kind of what that means for us. That being said, even though it is a relatively nice moon to be optimistic and focus on these new ideas, it can also be sort of a false start new moon. Just because we have these optimistic and bright ideas, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to come to fruition. Just like any kind of magic, it takes real world, like application plus your intention to actually make something happen. So although your ideas might be bubbly and nice and wonderful, it doesn't really mean dick if you're not doing actual activities with it. So the problem with the new moon in Sagittarius is it puts us in this position where we have all these lofty and amazing ideas, which is nice, but they are ultimately just ideas if we don't do anything with it. Now, that being said, the new moon in Sagittarius is also a very good time to do things like setting New Year's resolutions if you're going to do them. It's a little bit early, obviously, because December 14th is a few weeks out, but maybe start mapping them out if you're going to do that. It's a good time to set those intentions, so do it. But do at the end of the day, remember that they are just intentions, so you have to make a plan with what you're going to do in the real world to make that happen. Does that make sense to you guys?
It does make sense.
Are you going to mention that there's an eclipse or?
Oh yeah, there is an eclipse. I completely forgot about that. So there is an eclipse as well, which is, wait, are we really having 2 eclipses in a month? Did I just forget about that?
We're having an eclipse this month on the...
Yeah, we had one last month though too.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. I didn't realize that there was going to be 2. I forgot all about this eclipse.
It says the December 2020 new moon is also a solar eclipse. So it's going to bring different energy.
Eclipse, yeah.
Yeah.
And the solar eclipses in general, they work like having basically every single, I don't know if people are familiar with solar magic at all and how it works if you do it. But the different phases of the sun work very similarly to the different phases of the moon. And when you have a solar eclipse, it essentially is like having every single phase of the sun at once.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
That does make
What
sense.
is super fun about this one, though, is that the eclipse is in Sagittarius and the new moon is in Sagittarius. So you kind of get a double whammy there.
So much optimism.
So much fucking fun. Have you ever met a Sagittarius that isn't fun? Like,
yes, I have a brother who's a Sagittarius.
that's his lunar rising. That's his lunar rising.
It's he is actually a very fun person, but he is a true Sag where he's very like blunt and to the point. Yeah, he's a good kid. We love him. Okay, so the next lunar phase that we have is the full moon in Cancer, which is on December 29th. And this is kind of a perfect full moon. And I know Temp is going to talk about how much she hates Cancers, which is fine. But
true.
The Cancer full moon is literally the moon returning to its own native sign. So it's the moon in the moon. And it's the end of the year. And so it's kind of, this year's been such a shit show that the moon returning to itself, to its own placement at the very end of the year is, I don't know, I think it's kind of symbolic.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, I think it's nice. And that being said, when the moon is in Cancer in any phase, we are looking at a very emotional time period, and you might be more tender, more vulnerable, just like all of us crybaby Cancers are. You might find yourself doing more domestic things or focusing just in general on domestic sort of energies. And again, with it being the end of the year, yes, spring cleaning happens in spring, but we can be doing emotional spring cleaning at the end of the year as well. So we might be finding time to reevaluate essentially our emotional relationships, how they make us feel, and whether or not we want to continue with that going into the new year. That's, of course,
Yeah,
obviously
I love
entirely up to you on how you want to deal with it, but it is a good time to evaluate that. And it's a very good time to focus on end of the year shadow work because we are a little bit more emotional. We might be a little bit more honest with ourselves and how we're feeling. And so use that to focus on your shadow work.
Mm-hmm. I think that's perfect for, especially around, like Yule. Yule is such like a family, oriented holiday,
Yeah,
at least for
totally.
me and my family. So having that Cancer full moon is, a little nice because
Yeah.
Cancer, in my opinion, is very family oriented sign. They love family and
Yeah.
relationships.
I think, as a word of warning, I'm going to be the Debbie Downer on the Cancer full moon party because Cancer is such an emotional sign. This is an awful time of the year to be around family that you don't get along with because tensions are going to be really high. And people are going to be emotional. Tensions are going to be high. Full moons already make people crazy. This is not the time to see that cousin that you hate. Like, just don't do it. Stay away from them. Cancer is already bad enough without making it worse.
And you should be staying home anyways.
Exactly. If you already didn't have a reason to stay home with the global pandemic, just blame it on the Cancer full moon. It's also the 29th of December. Christmas has passed. You don't need to spend New Year's with your family. You don't need to spend it with that shitty auntie who always asks you, when are you going to get married? Just no. So yeah, it's a lot to unpack this month, but I think it'll be good overall. Well, I hope. Maybe it won't be. I don't know.
So, if you just started listening to us, every podcast we talk about a random tarot card. We go over the universal meaning and then our own interpretations of the cards. Hearing others' opinions helps beginners form their own opinions, or even those who have been practicing for a while expand their views on other meanings. This week, we are talking about the Ten of Pentacles. On the Rider-Waite-Smith version of this deck, you will see an older gentleman sitting and watching what seems to be his family, who are talking and having a good time, complete with like 2 dogs and a little one running around. Over this family is like an archway or a bridge, and in the background stands the tower that is depicted in many of the tarot cards in the deck. The universal meaning of this card is like family traditions, values, being conservative, and financial security. So for myself, I have been seeing like the tens in tarot very different lately, particularly where the 10 and the Pentacle 10s are concerned. More often than not, they pop up in readings. They don't show that someone has actually reached this place in their life. The feeling of, being secure when it comes to money or goals or wanting for nothing. But now, and now you have to spend time, you can spend time doing what you care about the most rather than having to worry about those things. This for me is like the desire to reach that point in our lives and leaving that legacy you worked so incredibly hard to attain. Other times when this card pops up, it's just a reminder, that you've worked hard. Maybe it is time to take a little break for a while and enjoy what you've built. Now isn't the time to stress. So go spend some time with your family or friends, enjoying that fulfillment you've worked so hard to reach. Your legacy and like hard work that you've done will continue and make way for new things when you are ready. So Robin, dearest, how do you view this card?
For me, this card always comes up when it's a sign that you are doing exactly what you should be. It can mean that you're like working towards the comfort, but I personally view wealth as a lot more than just monetary value. So when I get this card like in a reading, it tells me that basically it's like a reminder of the wealth that I have in my life that might not necessarily be monetary. Like, for example, your family or the fact that you have a roof over your head and you have food in your stomach. It's kind of for me, a humbling card. A reminder that, maybe I'm being a pissy crybaby, but like I do have a lot to be grateful for and be happy about, and to kind of like check my own attitude. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Like wanting to be appreciative of what you already have. Like,
yeah, and like I do think that wealth and abundance is so much more than just being financially secure, although it does include that as well. Yeah, and
but it could also be about like goals, like reaching goals
Totally.
and stuff like that. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, so it's just, for me, it's a big humbling card. It's a reminder that like I am doing actually quite all right, and I have a lot to be proud of and to be happy for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. How do you view this card, Temperance?
I think for me, it would depend on how it's coming up in the reading, but more often than not, I look at it as more of a structure card. So often I find, kind of similar to you, like when this card pops up in readings, it doesn't necessarily denote like having reached that point, but to me, it denotes having the structure in place to have the ability to reach that point. So like the groundwork has been laid, foundations set, like you're secure and all that stuff. You don't have to worry about that anymore. If you just like, keep going, you'll eventually get there. So for me, it's a big security card more than anything else.
That makes sense.
I like that.
I like that.
That's nice.
Yeah. That's nice.
Oh, that's nice.
So I'm so excited to talk about one of my favorite Sabbats. Yule is typically celebrated on the longest night and the shortest day of the year. And this year it'll be celebrated on December 21st. On that day, we honor the rebirth of the sun and the start of its growing power and, of course, the start of winter. So I think we're going to talk about how we each celebrate it. So I'll go first. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So my family and I typically celebrate Yule from like November to the beginning of January because we're crazy. It is such a big deal for us, like Samhain typically is. And, we put up our tree, practice kitchen witchery, especially, with my witchling, and do abundance of like candle magic. On the actual day of the Sabbath, we always try to have a feast and drink buckets of like glögg and glühwein. And we typically light a fire in the fireplace and, light a bunch of candles to invite warmth and light into our home. And it is just like a freaking cozy evening spent with the ones that I love. We still do like the whole gift giving thing, but we just do it on the 25th and enjoy, the tradition of Santa Claus, the spirit of giving. But yeah, it's just like an amazing Sabbath for me and my family that celebrates, hearth and home. So how about you guys?
Well, for me, Yule is not my favorite Sabbath. I know that you're super dick hard for it.
Yes, I am. Look at it.
I hate the cold so goddamn much. It is unreal. I hate anything that has to do with the cold. I hate it. So for Yule, I do what I do for every Sabbath, which is I make a lot of bread and baked goods, and then I eat it. Because I'm a fat ass. Our Yule typically consists of very non-traditional things. So every year I make a vegan quiche, and we eat it. Which I know is not very...
I'm just wondering, what are you replacing with the eggs? A quiche is literally just eggs baked.
I know. It's tofu and hummus. It's really good. It's really good. It's my favorite thing to make. It's my Yule quiche. Speaking of making Sabbath your own. Come on over, guys.
Here's my lovely Yule quiche made out of hummus and tofu.
It's really good. And I put like fake ham in it, and I put broccoli and leeks in it, and it's so fucking good.
That sounds delicious. Sign me up.
And I also make, when I say make, I make an attempt at a Yule log every year. And I've actually never once got it right, because a Yule log is essentially a Swiss roll, right?
Yeah. Made out of a fruitcake.
Yeah, and rolling it is my arch nemesis. And I've tried so many different things. Like, I know that you're supposed to roll it when it's still really hot, like fresh out of the oven, so it doesn't crack. And I've just never once got it perfectly right. And every year my Yule log is like me filling in the cracks with frosting or something like that, and being like, nothing to see here, guys.
Just covering up the ends like with frosting so you can't see the swirl.
Like,
it's fine.
Traditionally,
it's fine.
right? You just put powdered sugar on it or something like that. And
You have to dip that stuff in chocolate.
I'm just gonna give you my hint. This is a McCormick Coven exclusive, so you're hearing it here first. I swear to God, just buy yourself like Debbie Swiss rolls, some birthday candles, stick some birthday candles in the Swiss roll, and then you're done. It's like single serving Yule cakes that don't taste like ass.
Well, I mean, I hear you, and that's usually how it ends up. But I try first, and then we end up going and buying a cake. It's so bad. I try every year, and every year I've tried, especially since like having my social media account. Every year I've been like, I'm going to make a Yule cake that's pretty enough for the internet. This is going to happen. This will be my year. And every year I'm like, there's no saving this. No one can ever see this. Throw it in the trash.
That's why I never do the whole kitchen witchery, like posting me doing it besides like cookies. It's like, you're not going to see a post of me like cooking. Nope.
Oh, y'all are going to see my Swiss cake birthday candle combo this year. That's going on the internet.
Yes. Please post that.
I try every single year, and every single year it's a hot mess. It's so bad. Frank's always like, oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'm sure it tastes great. And I'm like, don't look at it. Don't acknowledge it. Don't eat it. Get it away. Just pretend I didn't make this. Just eat your Christmas quiche and be happy.
Your Christmas quiche made out of tofu and hummus.
I'm gonna make you one, and you're gonna love it.
If you mail it to me, I will eat it.
I will
eat it for you.
I will. It'll show up in the mail all like chalky and gross because it had made it all that way. That's one thing.
You put it in one of those like dry ice shipping containers.
It does not keep. Yule quiche does not keep. It is you eat it in one day or you throw it in the trash because it gets like dries out. Ugh, it's awful. Second day Yule quiche is not for keepsies.
Cancel it.
So yeah, in short,
is it my turn? Okay.
Yeah, I hate Yule. I don't like cold things, and so I, flog myself by making bad baked goods.
And we all know how much you love talking about it, but what do you think of Yule, Temp?
I love Yule. It's probably like my second favorite on the wheel. But I actually work with it in a different aspect. I work with it in its death aspect because my practice is so death-centric. So I really work with that energy, and we're about to, like, the earth in general, because I work very earth-based. The earth in general in the northern hemisphere is about to switch back into life mode. We're about to start having light return, and so I really work with the death aspect. Yule itself is not just like a single day, it's like a multi-day festival, even traditionally, so yeah, I work with the Yule for a lot of days. I do separate out the solstice. That's a separate day for me because I actually gave birth on the solstice. So for me, I take that day and I acknowledge it in a very different way. So that's like the life day out of my death celebration. And then, we do traditional Christmas day. So tree, presents, all that stuff. But I love to do a whole lot of nothing this time of year. I get really hermity, like very introspective. Yes. I look at myself. I read a lot of books. I sit in windowsills and cry while listening to vinyl records. Like that's the mood. I just want to be depresso for a week and just, find myself and eat cookies and feel okay about it.
Goth Temp comes out to play.
Goth Temp comes out from October 1st to like January 1st, because that's when it's socially acceptable to listen to my 90s goth rock, because people are like, oh, okay, this makes sense for the time of year, and I can play it, and people are like, oh yeah, I guess I remember that band, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not still simping for these people or anything, but yeah, like totally.
Well, that's the difference between you and me. I simp for them all year round, and if people judge me, I feel like that's a reflection of their bad taste in music, and not my immaculate taste in music.
Yeah. Look, I just don't think it's right that you and I both had Peter Steele come up on our Spotify Wrapped. Like, that's where we are in life.
The worst part is Typo Negative has been my number one for like the last 3 years. Embarrassing.
I mean, he's been dead for a while now.
May he rest in peace.
Bring him up at Yule.
A true king.
I do. Sorry. So I do want to say that I know, like, this time of year has been especially hard for some witches, you know, with loss and even financial insecurity due to the pandemic. So if you aren't feeling like the Yuletide joy, that is like freaking valid. As, you know, Tempest said, this is also like the chrome part and the dark part of the year where we sometimes have to face like our shadow selves head on. And, you know, that practice and that spell work is just as valid as any other of the festivities going on. So, you know, please take 100%. Care of yourselves. Yeah. Check in 100%. With your friends. Check in on them.
And if you can't do that, just make a Christmas quiche and it will be fine. Just make a Christmas
Send
quiche.
It to them.
If you use the hummus, it's dry.
You know, like in Christmas Vacation, where the great grandmother brings the Jello mold with like the glitter in it, and it's like leaking out. I'm just imagining Robin sending all.
You know what? I want to see you doing the Christmas quiche. Like, I want a reel of you doing Christmas quiche. That's what I want this year for Christmas.
I'll make it. I'll make a reel of me making Christmas quiche and it will go up, and only the real ones will know what's happening because they listen to the podcast. They're the only ones
context Christmas quiche.
I won't even put a caption on it. Or maybe I'll just write Christmas quiche and then, or like a pie emoji or something, and only the real ones will know what's up.
Yes.
The one thing I do want to say about Yule that I enjoy, and I feel like not a lot of people, I guess, give credit to, I guess that's, I guess, is the origin of Yule and Odin, and just like the Norwegian, well, Scandinavian, like folklore and stuff like that. I feel like too many people take Odin out of Yule, and it's not okay.
No one is taking Odin out of Yule. We all have Santa Claus doing his thing. Everyone has Odin in Yule. I mean, like, that's the biggest lie you've said today.
No way. I feel like too many people reassociate like Yule and Christmas and all that with a very English idea. And the English have conquered enough things, okay? They've colonized enough things. They need to not colonize our Yule as well.
Are you saying fuck England, fuck the crown? Because I'm here for it.
I mean, I didn't say that specifically, but that's the gist I'm dancing around.
That's what I heard. You know, but I would also love to point out that Yule is not the only holiday this time of year. And many cultures have holidays surrounding this time because it is a solstice. So you didn't have to be Gerald Gardner reappropriating holidays for a calendar to, you know, celebrate this holiday. We have lots of cultures that have stuff around this time of year. And if you wanted to celebrate Saturnalia or Festivus or Yule, that is totally your thing to do.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Festivus for the rest of us.
So, Temperance, what is stirring your cauldron this week?
So I had just started, not too long ago, a class run by Damien Eccles, The Royal Science of Angels. And it's about, you know, occultism and angels and basically invoking them and all the types of things that you could do with them. I'm learning so much because I'm not a ceremonial magician. Like, I am absolutely loving this class. And Damien Eccles is one of my favorite authors, so I'm definitely enjoying that class.
Yeah, same. I'm a huge fangirl of his. I think he's just a brilliant mind. I think at least the idea of the class sounds really interesting. Although I have to say, when you first said Royal, I thought you were calling him Royal, and I was like, all right, calm down.
No, it's the name of the class. I would love him to do one on demons too, but I'll take what I can get from him. And if it's angels, it's angels. So I've been working through some like HGA material on my own prior to this. And then when this came up, I was like, oh, this is a sign. I have to take it. So here I am taking it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think he's great. And I think that sounds super duper.
So, Temperance, what is not stirring your cauldron right now?
I honestly, I'm just collecting myself. I am being so bothered lately by all of the posturing we're seeing on social media. And I know this is nothing new, but I think what's really getting to me is that before it wasn't so in your face. And now with TikTok and Reels, it's so in your face. And it's so easy to see, like, for me, what's genuine and what's not, because I'm not new, right? I'm not new. I'm not a beginner. I don't need to be fooled. I don't think that you're a priestess when you're not. I don't think that you're talking to demons. I don't think that there's a lot of things I don't think. And when people do these things for theatrics, I just, you know, it's definitely something that bothers me, because a lot of beginners they can't differentiate because they don't have the skill set or the knowledge to differentiate. So when they see someone calling themselves a priest or a priestess and working with this god or that goddess or whatever else and doing all these things, it seems so involved. It seems super cool. It seems super spiritual. And we all know that it's actually just really good theatrics for the internet. And like, I just want to see more genuine people. And maybe that's like my bad. Maybe I'm expecting too much from the internet, but I just wish that there was more genuine people putting out content that was getting recognized. It's not a lack of people putting out content. It's a lack of people wanting to recognize quality content versus theatrical content. And like, I'm so over it.
Well, I think part of the problem is that, especially with things like TikTok, you want to be entertained, right? And people don't realize that entertainment does not equal knowledge.
Yes,
like the fucking
100%.
What was that video that I saw the other day? The wobble one. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm with you on that. It gets exhausting, and there are people out there that make really amazing entertainment, but that doesn't make it valid information.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It is. And it really does set a bad example to newer witches. I mean, we're always saying this on here, that like, please, for the majority of your stuff, don't get it from social media. Like, most of the time you can only trust it as far as you can throw it. Any
social media. It's not just limited to TikTok, and Reels. I think Twitter, Tumblr, Discord, anywhere that there's Facebook.
Even people's standalone vlogs.
Yeah, no matter what, you're dealing with someone's personal gnosis, because whenever we talk about spirituality, right, we can only frame it through the lens of what we view, what we believe, what we know, what we've experienced. But at the end of the day, it's all pretty much personal gnosis. So if someone's teaching you something as if it was a universal truth when it's just their personal truth, it gets the waters muddy really fast. And that's what we're seeing. And that's what I'm so fucking pissed off about. I fake quit social media for a few days, and I was tweeting about it, which, it's why I say it's fake quitting, because I just wasn't on Instagram. But now that Instagram wants to be TikTok, I want to spend less and less time there, because the posturing has gotten so bad. And it's I just want to see the people I like doing cool things. I don't want to see you making reels for attention, because what is the algorithm like? Drama. The algorithm likes drama. So the things that are getting picked up aren't necessarily quality content. They're just things that are making people comment about it.
100%. And it's just with Facebook posts, if someone's commenting on a negative comment over and over and over again, that comment's going to go to the top.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. It's just annoying. It's like that video that, ever heard of a little thing called chaos magic? No, yes, I have, and you're just chaotic. Yeah. I'm 100% with you. I know Maria is too.
Yes.
It's so dumb.
So dumb.
So dumb.
So if you've just joined us this week, every week we talk about creators that we're loving right now. This can be shops, this can be content creators, it can be basically just anybody who's making something out there that we like. That being said, if you send us messages asking to be on here, you're going to get blocked, and also I'm going to hate you for the rest of my life. So jot that down. Don't do that. It's fucking rude. Stop it. Stop it. It's rude.
Jot it down.
So that being said, Maria, who's the creator you're loving this week?
I've been really digging the photographer, Natalie Shao. Hopefully I said her last name correctly. I did look it up beforehand. But her photography is so beautiful. It's extremely witchy, and she does involve like folklore and stuff like that into her photos and mysticism. It's really stunning and beautiful, and I love how she puts together
anime-esque
images with editing and all that. Just gorgeous. I wish I could do that sort of stuff, but I do not have the time or the or the outfits.
Really pretty. So pretty. Well, I'm obsessed with this deck that I actually ordered on Kickstarter 2 months ago, I think, called the Tarot of the Unknown. And I don't know if you guys have ever seen Over the Garden Wall. It's I think it was on Cartoon Network. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
No, I have no clue.
Yes.
Well, it was a mini series. It only had one season, and it was very good. And there is a tarot deck that has been made themed of that. And when I tell you, this is exactly what I needed in my life. And I just got a notification that my order is probably going to be going out soon. So it's back in my brain again. And I'm so excited about it. And I think this is the last printing of it too.
It's such a cute deck. I love it. It's
so
cute. I love it.
It's so cute. Yeah. So I'm very excited to have it.
Every time when I hear about that deck, all I see is that image of the little boy with the knife and the pumpkin.
Yes, so good.
So good.
And cute, and I'm very excited to have it.
So how about you, Tem?
So I was gonna say one specifically, and now in the short time frame of me thinking of who I was gonna say and me saying it, I'm changing my answer. I just stumbled onto an Etsy shop called Blagowood, Blagowood. It's they make pagan altar statues, and they have one for the god that I work with. And never in my life, I've been looking for years and years for a statue, and I have never found one. No one's ever made one. Makes one. This guy makes one. His woodwork is phenomenal. I literally impulse purchased it the second I saw it, and I'm so excited because they look so good, and there's so many. They've got Celtic gods and goddesses, Greek, Roman, Germanic. There's so many on here, and they look so nice. So that's definitely something that I'm looking into right now.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
That's really pretty.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god, what have you done to me, Tim?
It looks like 3D freaking printed.
I know, right? And they're made out of wood.
That's
God damn
crazy.
it. I'm going to end up buying one of those.
I know.
People
I
are so
literally
talented.
just impulse bought one. I had to have it. I was like, oh my god, what if I never run into this again?
That's so funny.
That's gorgeous. Following, yes, I am.
we hope you guys will join us for the next episode, which is also going to be the start of season 2, which will be on January 8th. So as a reminder, we are taking off Christmas. And as an extra reminder, if you leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast and you put a question, we will be answering them with the first episode of the season on January 8th. So you still have a little bit of time, but you should definitely hop over there and do that if you haven't already. We appreciate it muchly. And keep an eye out on our Instagrams and on Twitter, even though I'm very bad at updating Coffee and Cauldrons, for more information.
Or even better, joining us on our Discord tier, which is First Coven on Patreon. So you can hear your question next time in our part 2.
You'll even get to hear our super sensual voices for an additional 30-ish minutes every single time. Yeah. You just have to be from the Patreon tier, casting, and up.
Yes. So again, this is Coffee and Cauldrons
with Robin from What a Tired Witch on Instagram.
And Maria from @Maria the Arcane on Instagram.
And Temperance from Wild Woman Witchcraft on Instagram.
All right,
okay.
You guys
ready? Let's do it.
One, 2, 3.
Bye.
Bye, witches.
Sorry, that would be good.
Every time.